have not done in, I don't even know how many weeks, but we are going to get back into it. I am going to be trying to do these again after every race. And what a fitting race to start with, if you ask me. Uh, just want to get some things ready here. Make sure everything is set up. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I thought this might have been one of the best races we have had in a while. Definitely in a while. Very good race, very good race. Now, yeah, I want to know what you guys thought of the race. Obviously, I'm going to give you guys some time to actually get into the chat. Let me make sure everything is running smoothly here before we start going through things. Am I able to see the chat on my phone? Start a poll. Let's see. All right, that's a small little poll. Was this the best race of the season so far? Now, I haven't really thought of how I'm going to go over this, but we can start with where I believe we should start, which is Oscar Piastri. Every time he has a great race, I feel like I keep saying this over and over, but he is definitely championship material. Oscar Piastri is an absolute stud. He's an absolute G when it comes to driving that car. Let me just make sure you can hear me. Let me just test the audio here. Yeah, okay, we're good. Now, Oscar Piastri, okay, he is going to be a multiple world champion because I don't remember the last time we saw somebody so composed. I know last year, I always talk about this. This will be like one of my highlights of my Twitter career, whatever you want to call it. The last time I had one of these was with Steph Curry back in, I think, 2012. I had a tweet where I said that Steph Curry is going to be the most dominant guard in the league in a couple of years. And that turned out to be the case, and I'm still very proud of that tweet, although I don't even know what account that was on. Now, last year, I think it was in response to the race or some account like this. I think they asked some of your crazy hot takes. It was one of those hot take stuff. And I said my hot take is that Oscar Piastri will be much better than Lando Norris in a couple of seasons. I got a lot of flack. Nobody thought that'd be true. I mean, I don't even know if I fully believed it. At that point, we were, what, like 10 races into the season, maybe, into last season? But boy, oh boy, is he absolutely cooking. And I don't even know when the last time I've gone live was. I haven't been posting videos often either. But I actually went to Budapest. That was my first ever Grand Prix that I got to see live. And that was Oscar Piastri's first race win. Of course, that was a race win. That was a little bit controversial. You know, the back and forth, Norris clearly being quicker, but being asked to give position back to Oscar Piastri, who kind of got screwed over by the strategy, yada, yada, yada. It was one of those wins, just like Lando Norris's first win, that felt a little bit not earned. You know, he didn't fully earn that on his own merit on track. But today, my oh my. Now, let's head into the chat. Actually, welcome back. It's been a while since we've talked about it. You know, I haven't been doing these lives. I said I would do these more often, and they will definitely be on again. So I love to see you back at it. So far, the best race of the season. I agree, and what a time it has been for Formula One. I was actually at Monza last week, which I said as a Formula One fan, a Ferrari fan, and a Charles Leclerc fan, that if I were to die, I would be happy if I never got to see another Formula One race live. Because seeing Charles Leclerc win for Ferrari at home, that's like a bucket list item come true for me. I don't even know how else to explain it, but that was the epitome, the top of Formula One for me. Seeing that emotion, that raw passion from the fans, and he wasn't a favorite to win, so it was huge. That was amazing to see. But with all that, although Monza will forever remain my favorite Formula One race ever, basically ever, the race today was definitely the most entertaining race we have had this season by far. It had everything you could possibly want. Of course, every race I feel this has to be the best race so far, but then it keeps getting better and better. Exactly. Every race as the season progresses, we keep seeing that more and more teams are capable of fighting and winning these races. Now today we had what? I mean, the top three teams for sure. Perez was on it. Leclerc, I thought was a lock, but at this point with Ferrari, I didn't want to get too excited until they did switch onto those hard tires to see how it was going to handle. I said after about 10 laps with the hard tires, if he was still as dominant as he was in that first stint, then I would call it an easy win. But, unfortunately, I mean, as a Ferrari fan, Leclerc fan, it was a hard race. I thought Leclerc should have been much more aggressive. My favorite move from the entire race was Leclerc's defense on Perez right at the end. I mean, that's what he should have been doing the whole time. I understand that he wants to bring the tires into temperature slowly. He doesn't want to go for it right off the bat. I don't think he was expecting Oscar to go for that lunge. That dive bomb, that was like Danny Rick throwing it back. I don't even know what he was thinking there, but that was amazing. Amazing. I don't even know. Oscar Piastri is a G. He's going to be a world champion. I don't even know how many times I can say this, but he's just that good. He's just that good. And this isn't going to be liked by McLaren fans because Norris is also good, but he doesn't have what Oscar Piastri has. And I don't know how many times I can repeat that. So that's the first thing I want to touch on. Great overtake by Oscar Piastri and great defense by Oscar Piastri. I don't want to keep mentioning that I'm a Leclerc fan. You guys all know this by now. But even as a Leclerc fan who obviously wanted Charles to overtake Piastri, I was rooting for him every single lap going into turn 1. I have never seen such a calm and collected driver not make any mistakes. And there's that one shot that's going through Twitter right now. I'm sure you've all seen it, of out of turn 16. I think it's turn 16. When Piastri comes sliding out of turn 16, and then Leclerc follows him about, I don't know, like 500ths of a second behind, sliding out of the turn as well. That is poetry in motion. Now I understand the meaning of that saying. What a race. What a battle. And that was just a battle for the front. Now this is just Oscar Piastri being great. Let's see. Actually, you're saying each lap was a fight for the lead. Not even a single lap was boring. Yes, not one single lap was boring. And I know I was watching it with a friend, and we kept laughing every time we would be running up to the long straight, and they would jump over to Hamilton back in P16, complaining about how his tires aren't going in the right temperature or something. Like, this isn't what we want to be seeing. Show us the battle at the front. That's what really matters, right? Not Hamilton saying he's having a rough day, which I understand that he's having a bad day, but I don't care. I want to see the fight at the front of the field. He had old hards too, which was really great. I mean, I think his hards were just one lap older than Leclerc's, or they were older than Leclerc's, but the problem was that I think Leclerc maybe had already used his hard tires in one of the FP sessions. I'm not exactly sure, and I don't know, where did Charles lose those 8 seconds that he had ahead of Piastri? Was it just from the in lap? Because that made no sense to me, that he was like 8-9 seconds ahead before Piastri pitted, and I don't think he lost that much time on the 2 laps he did, or 1 lap before he had to box. Because when he came out, he was right ahead of Piastri. Now maybe you can tell me, maybe you caught that better than I did, because that was kind of an enigma to us, and I know they were talking about it on the broadcast as well, but nobody knew exactly where those seconds went, how he managed to lose that time. So that's really something that I would love to see what happened. But at the end of the day, you have to give props where props are due. Oscar Piastri, the first McLaren car, he got the job done, and this was a weekend or a week, actually, not just a weekend, the whole week we were talking about the papaya rules, how now Oscar would be helping Lando in 50-50 situations, how Lando's the closest to Max Verstappen. I mean, this agenda of considering Lando Norris the closest, or he is the closest, but an actual title contender against Max, it just feels a little bit far-fetched to me, because he's far behind, and honestly he has missed so many chances this season to battle Max or bring the battle to Max. Now I know I went off on Twitter as well yesterday about how everybody thinks that this is the Lando that's going to be challenging Max, because he got out in Q1, and it's a silly mistake. I understand the entire VSC, the yellow flag, nobody knew what happened, but at the end of the day, just finish your lap and then let the steward sort it out. He made that mistake coming out of turn 16, so it wasn't due to any of the flags. Okay, he might have lost time elsewhere, but you cannot be making those mistakes if you're trying to get out of Q1, right? I mean, people were saying that, yeah, he was on old tires, he blah blah blah, but why was he on old tires? Okay, I understand you want to bring the fight in Q3, But if you're not getting to Q3, there's no fight to be brought. Don't get me wrong, all props due to Lando Norris as well, who had a great recovery drive today. He finished P4, solid strategy. Him and Albon going long on those hards. That was also poetic to watch. Very happy for both those drivers. This was a good recovery from Norris, and he needed this to even continue having this conversation of potential world champion, which again I'll be getting into very soon. But let's just go over the race first, and then we'll go into that whole championship stuff. What else? George Russell. I don't know how he does it. There's always something that happens that ends up with George Russell getting a podium. That's the second podium this year that he's gotten just because of a late, it might have been even the second last lap. No, it might have been the third last lap in Austria. I don't remember exactly, but it was very late when Lando and Max collided in Austria, both finishing their races, which ended up leading to a Russell victory. And today again, Sainz and Perez collided on the second last lap, which ended up in Russell going onto the podium where he had no business being. So good for George Russell. I think he's probably surprised when he ends up on the podium sometimes, because more often than not, it's because of some other stupid mistakes. But luck is part of the game, and you have to have yourself in a position to receive that luck. So no problems with it. No problems with it. The collision, that is something that we have to touch on, obviously, because everybody will have their own personal opinions on this. And I'm curious as to what you think as well, who you think was at fault for it. So we can actually start one of those as well. Oh, there's already a poll started. That's okay then. So just tell me in the comments who you think is at fault for the incident. Is it Perez? Is it Sainz? Or is it a racing incident? Now for me, it's like 95% racing incident, 5% on Perez. Okay. That whole sequence building up to that collision between the two drivers was pretty intense. I mean, like I said, I love the way Charles Leclerc defended against Perez. I thought that was the best move he'd made all day, and the one time today that he was as aggressive as he had to be. I love the overtake Sainz made. I thought that was genius, and I thought that, hey, maybe Ferrari are actually going to salvage something today and get some solid points, finishing 2-3 for the constructors. It's true, Sainz did have a little bit of understeer coming out of turn 2 towards the straight before turn 3. And yes, I know there's videos where it shows Sainz going a little bit to the left, away from the white line right on the edge, but Perez had the entire track to his left side, okay? Perez was a good half a car length behind Sainz at that point, and Sainz was inching over to the left, trying to follow the slipstream of Charles Leclerc ahead, as Perez was doing as well. Now, I think it's a racing incident, but I do think Perez, being the car behind, has to leave the space as well. Okay, I know he was frustrated that Carlos got that overtake done, that instead of Perez ending up P2, he was now P4. So, of course, he was frustrated and wanted to fight back, but you have to move over as well. You can't go like a bullet straight and expect all other drivers not to try to make a move, because that's not the way it's going to go, especially when it's a driver ahead of you that, according to the rules, has the right of that space. That's something that I think, I mean, I know they checked it, they considered it no further action, which I agree. Like I said, 95% for me as well. That's nothing. No day of the week do we actually have to worry about that. But at the same time, if we do want to give the blame to somebody, then I personally would give the blame to Perez very slightly. I understand where he's coming from. I thought he had a fantastic weekend. It's the first time he qualified Max all season. He's always quick in Baku. I was stressed about him the entire week, or the entire race, not the entire weekend, but the entire race. I was stressed that he was right on the tail of Leclerc, and thought that maybe if Leclerc made a mistake trying to fight against Piastri, then Perez would be there to clean it up and steal that P2, which it looked like would be the case at the end. But Leclerc pulled off that stunning defense. And from there, it just continued on like that. So I do, like I said, think it's a racing incident. But if you want to get technical, for me, that's on Perez. Now, actually, let's see what you're saying. I think Lando is great too. He has what it takes to become world champion, but something new is stopping him. Like, he doesn't repeat same mistakes in the next See, he's been making a lot of mistakes this season, and he's trying to play it off. I know this is something else you may know about me. I'm not the biggest Lewis Hamilton fan. I'm not going to consider myself a Lewis Hamilton hater. Just sometimes his fans annoy me a little bit. But I know, I think it was in Belgium. I think it was at Spa after. No. It was in Hungary. It was in Hungary, where after they won, um, Lando had that snarky remark because he had gotten overtaken by Piastri, team orders, whatever. And Lando had that snarky remark to Hamilton after Hamilton said, "Damn, you guys are quick," or something like that. And then Lando said, "You guys had the fastest car for 8 years. Now it's our turn." And Lando's gone on record before to say it's easy to win when you have the fastest car. Blah 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 blah. Now he has the fastest car, and he's not winning as much as he should be. Before today, he was the only driver I think that had not gained one position during the first lap. I understand that it's difficult to gain positions when you're starting towards the front of the grid, but all other drivers managed to do it. And not only that, he's not even keeping his positions. He drops down. He never finishes or comes out first, leading a lap or leading a race after he starts on pole. So I think there are mistakes he's still making. I don't know if they're mental mistakes or what they are, but he needs to clean that up for sure. Perez was too brave. I don't know why he was going right on Sainz. I think he wanted to get into Sainz slipstream. Yeah, I think he wanted to get into Charles's slipstream actually, and they just misjudged it. That was I don't know what they were doing there, but definitely a racing incident. Unfortunate, especially for Perez and especially as well for Sainz actually for both because they were on for some great points. Both drivers, both for drivers championship and for constructors, especially for constructors. I know Red Bull are still a solid team that have won enough over the last couple years, but for the constructors championship, that would have been a huge boost in their points, especially on a weekend where Max was doing so poorly. My thoughts on Adrian to Aston. That's an interesting one. No, of course, as any Ferrari fan, I would have loved to see Adrian go to Ferrari. If he can't go to Ferrari, I'm happy he's not going to any of the other big four teams, big three teams besides Ferrari. So I think it's a great signing. I'm curious to see how this experiment of paying to solve a problem works because obviously the reason it's going to Aston is one, okay, yeah, it's still in the UK, it's close to home, it's not have to move to Maranello, blah blah blah, and the money, right? The stakeholder, the shareholder options, huge salary, 30 million a year, or whatever it is. My God, that's an absorbent amount of money. Uh, but actually, I have a video on Aston Martin coming out, which includes the whole Adrian Newey topic. It should be coming out tomorrow. It's almost done. I'm just in the final filming stage, is almost done editing, so that will be out tomorrow. So you'll have more of my thoughts on that tomorrow if you happen to watch that video, which I hope you do. I'm not sure when it'll be dropped, but it will be tomorrow evening at some point, so make sure to catch that as well. Now, another interesting thing today was the two rookie drivers, both in their second F1 races, in different circumstances, of course. We had Ollie Behrman in the Haas, where he will be driving full-time next year, but right now he was doing that, as we know, because of Kevin Magnussen's one-race ban due to the 12 penalty points, and Franco Colapinto, who was in his second race at Williams. Now, both drivers were incredibly impressive today. Ollie Behrman was very impressive in his first race in F1 for Ferrari. That was back in Jeddah. I think that was what, the second race of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Franco Colapinto, well, this was his second race, first being in Monza after he replaced none other than Logan Sargent. And we thought we got a reincarnation of Logan Sargent at Baku when Franco Colapinto hit that wall in FP1. But Charles Leclerc also hit the wall, so I guess it's excusable when the pole sitter is also doing it. They were both so impressive. I don't know what's more impressive. Ollie Behrman getting points in a Haas, or Franco Colapinto finishing P8 in a Williams. Double points finish for Williams. That was huge. And I think if they continue on this trajectory, I mean, if Franco Colapinto does great, that's going to be some issues for Williams because now they have Albon, who's a great driver. They've signed on Sainz, which yeah, it's Carlos Sainz. Obviously, you want to have a great driver like Carlos Sainz, but then they have Franco Colapinto too, so he'll definitely deserve a seat somewhere. I mean, I could see him maybe going to Sauber. I don't know what other options they have. I don't think Bottas is going to stay for too long. They definitely want something new and upcoming. There's no point in letting Bottas try to continue on the way he's been going. I've heard reports of Porterotto possibly coming in over from McLaren, the F2 current championship leader. But Colapinto's been a great surprise. He's loved by fans already. He's great with media. He has the whole country of Argentina behind him, which is phenomenal. And he's quick. He's likable. He's great under pressure. He seems like the exact opposite of Logan Sargent. And I don't always bag on him, but I do slightly feel for Logan, I guess. I mean, you always want somebody to do well in their career because this was essentially his career. And I'm sure it's tough. It's even worse to see that your replacement is outperforming you within 2 races. But hey, if he's good, Formula One, you do or die. You either make it or you sink. So right now, it's looking great for Franco Colapinto. Yes, he is paying his way to be there, but if he shows that he can perform, then there's definitely, well, like I say, definitely, there's hopefully going to be a spot for him in F1 in the future. I've lost a lot of my faith in the system ever since the Liam Lawson debacle, and how he's not currently on the grid, although he definitely deserved to be after his 4 races back with, well, it was Alpha Tauri last year, the V-Carbs. Great work. What'd you say? Actually, great work by Colapinto. I totally underestimated him very much, but he just proved me wrong. Really well driven. Yeah, it was a great drive. I mean, he was close. He was right on the tail of Alex Albon. And I know they're on different strategies, but wow, we haven't seen that at Williams for a long time. Albon actually being challenged, right? That's a shock. We never got to see that over the past 2 seasons, except in a couple of sprint races. But I really hope Colapinto continues this for the next couple of races because, maybe that'll help boost his chances of getting a drive next season, which so far I can say he deserves. But again, we've only had 2 races. Hopefully a lot of future performances just like this one, which will help his case. 500k a race, yep. Also, a great drivers like Schumacher paid their way in. So yeah, I have nothing against paid drivers. I think me, as many others, are jealous that we can't be part of the people that can afford to just buy an F1 team outright and put ourselves in there, or our future children in there. And again, I mentioned this in my video that's coming out tomorrow again. Shameless plug. Watch the video. About Lance Stroll, right? How Lawrence Stroll is keeping Lance Stroll there, who clearly is not, I'm not going to say not good enough to be an F1, but he is not as good as some other potential drivers could be, okay? But when your father owns a team, I have no problem with his son being on the team. I mean, isn't that the whole point? Like, why would you get mad at somebody for putting their own children into a position? He's paying his way to be there. He's trying to create that team up, bring a legacy. He's bringing the best people he can. Good for them. I mean, great. I would love my children to succeed when I have children. I'll do everything I can to put them in that position to succeed, which is exactly what Lawrence Stroll is doing. So, yes, exactly. No shame. You like them. Exactly my thoughts as well. They may not deserve to be there, but you know what? They deserve to be there because they found a way to be there. So that's good enough for me. And he's close enough that it's not like he's 5 seconds off the pace every single time. Right? He's just not an elite driver. He's just an okay driver. So that is what it is. Now, that's about it. I don't even know what to touch on. There was so much that happened this race. We can go over how Yuki is very unlucky this season. He's had a lot of issues. A lot of times he's been quite unfortunate. No shame about the video plug. Thank you. Well, I have to because I've taken a sort of sabbatical, or I was on vacations for the last couple months doing internships and whatnot. And I haven't really been posting videos, and when I was, they were performing quite poorly. So I'm hoping to get back into a consistent consistent schedule, posting weekly and everything. And again, doing these lives after the races, maybe after qualifying. But the fact that it's on weekends is also difficult because I do also try to have a life, and especially on weekends as a med student, it's quite difficult to do something throughout the week. So I use weekends to do the fun things. But it's okay, we do what we can. I'll try at least to do these lives after the races. As I say that, I know the next Singapore might be okay, but the one after in Austin is going to be quite late here in Europe, but we'll make do. No worries about that one either. So the main question that I had linked in the title was, can Lando Norris win the championship? Oh, thank you, actually. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, it makes it much better when I have fans and people like you who I can talk to and who are open to discussions and are engaged in these conversations. They make them much more enjoyable for me. So I thank you as well for everything. Can Norris win the championship? Not a chance from my point of view. Like we've already gone over, both of us. Too many mistakes. You know, Oscar Piastri, you know, I think it'd be interesting. I'd love to see what McLaren do if, for example, Oscar Piastri wins the next race or the next two races, and then he's neck and neck with Lando Norris. Would they still favor Lando Norris for the championship? I understand the thought process behind the papaya rules. I understand the thought process behind favoriting Norris, but at what point do you say you guys can fight again? Because really, I truly believe if they have the same card next year from the beginning of the season, I'd be willing to bet that Oscar Piastri might be their better chance at winning the championship than Lando Norris. Obviously, I hope it's going to be Ferrari, but he looks quick. He looks quick, composed. I don't want to, I have the same adjective that I keep repeating over and over and over, but it is the truth. Okay, it's the truth. Everybody that's watching knows that he is just quick. He is quick. Everybody's proud of what he's doing. Everybody's surprised when they say he's in his second season. Sorry. So that's something that I love that we're getting to see from him, and I hope we see many more years in the future. Red Bull can fall down to P3 if Ferrari will keep performing like this. I hope Red Bull fall down to P3. I'm gutted that Carlos Sainz didn't score those points today. I was so happy. I was sad that Leclerc wasn't going to win, and I thought Perez was going to overtake him. But then when Carlos stole that P3, I thought this was looking like an okay weekend for Red Bull. And what a swing in points. That would have been, what was it, 15 extra points, is it, for P3? Yeah, 15 extra points for Ferrari in the championship. And not only that, but Norris would have had even less points. So if Ferrari end up losing the even if they end up losing the championship by about 2-3 points, we'll know that. I never like to say it's all based on one moment, but this moment can definitely come back and bite them in the butt. And we'll know, you know, it is what it is. It was meant to be. One of them had to settle down to P4, yeah, and none of them wanted to, so both of them ended up settling down into P0 at this point with the DNFs. Somehow Lewis Hamilton squeezed into the points on the most complaining drive. Not the most complaining. I think 2 years ago in Baku was even worse when he was complaining about his back. I don't think Lewis Hamilton is a huge Baku fan. It's another race I would like to visit one time. I've heard it's a very nice city, so I'm trying to think at this point of what races I would like to do next year. I want to do, or try to do, at least one race a year. I mean, maybe the channel takes off and I start making some money from it at some point, then I'll consider going to more. But until then, you know, one a year seems pretty fair. I did film a little bit at Monza. I do have a sort of semi-vlog that I'm working on. There wasn't too much footage because most of the time I was just happy to be there and paying attention to what was going on. I didn't want to be all on my phone and recording and everything. But I hope that will be, you know, maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks, part of the weekly video schedule. And there's something else that I want to maybe implement. I don't know about you guys, if you're gamers or whatnot. I do game occasionally on the PS5, and some of the games I love playing F1. Of course, I'm playing Test Drive right now. It just came out. And Gran Turismo. Now, I'm not good at the games, but I do enjoy the games. And I would love to maybe do some sort of streaming session with some of you guys as well, if any of you play. I would ask like the community and my fans and everybody that's in the community, basically my viewers, but viewers, If they want to be part of a stream, one time we can all like get on the game together, create a lobby, create some races. I think that'd be a fun way to interact and just have a good time together. Obviously, these are all just like brainstorm on the back burner ideas, but it's something I would like to do going forward. Something like the Creator Series is a much lower scale and much shittier drivers, at least me personally. Yeah, about enjoying the experience of watching the race and preferring to vlog. Sometimes I was also with friends that weren't too keen on being on camera, and then me myself, like I don't want to just walk around talking to myself on camera. And it's very difficult with the battery situation. I didn't bring a battery pack. I have the battery pack, I just didn't have the charger because I'm very intelligent. Um, so my phone every day was dying towards the end of the day, and I had to make sure I had like enough battery to at least show my ticket on the train and everything, because I bought the tickets digitally because 2024. But it was okay. I'll go more into that in the vlog and maybe like a live after the vlogs. Also, maybe thinking of starting a little podcast where I do these type of discussions with other people. I am going to reach out to some other content creators, or even you guys if you'd like to be on these discussions. Have a discussion maybe in a week leading up to the race. Just go over some big news that had happened or some weekly roundups. There's also another big project that I might be partnering with that there should be more information on that pretty soon, but we'll get to that when it's time. Do you know Lobbyists? Yes, I watch his videos every so often. A good creator friend of mine, Wimbo F1. I don't know if you follow him, but we talk, and he's an awesome guy. So if you don't follow him, give him a follow as well. I know he had a podcast with Lobbyists as well, and he was telling me that he's a great guy. So that's definitely somebody I would love to reach out to and ask if he would be interested in maybe having a chat sometime. But again, I have to set up the podcast first to be able to podcast with him. It's all part of the process, but it's all good. Now, I think that will wrap it up for today. Like I said, we will be doing these more often. I will be doing one next week again after Singapore. I don't know if I'll do one for the qualifying session as well. Maybe if it's like a very interesting qualifying session, I'll at least try to live tweet during the qualifying session. And there's also Twitter Spaces, which I've never done. And I'm kind of curious how that all works, but I have too many ideas that I don't ever end up implementing. So I'll have to write them down and at least try to do some of them. I have a checklist for this next couple weeks, so we'll stick to that for now and see how it goes for then. Thank you guys for watching this video as always. Actually, especially thank you to you for the great conversations. Always love our discussions. Hope to have them as often as we can. Have a great day, a great evening, everybody. It was an awesome race, and until next time, see you guys then. Bye.